Daddy, there's a camera in your office. 7 innocent words from a 6-year-old girl. By the next day, 4 employees were fired, and a multi-million-dollar scandal was exposed. What she saw saved her father's career and uncovered a secret that could have destroyed everything. This isn't just a story about corporate betrayal. It's about how one child's voice changed everything. Let's get into story. Daddy, there's a camera in your office. Those 7 words, whispered by his 6-year-old daughter, changed everything. Ryan Matthews was no ordinary businessman. As a senior executive at a cutting-edge tech corporation, he was known for his leadership, integrity, and strategic brilliance. He wore his tailored suits like armor and carried the weight of billion-dollar deals on his shoulders. But at home, he was just daddy to Emily, a curious, bright-eyed little girl with a backpack full of snacks and a head full of questions. Every morning followed the same peaceful routine. Ryan made breakfast, braided Emily's hair badly, but she appreciated the effort, and dropped her off at school before diving into the whirlwind of corporate meetings and executive calls. It was a rhythm he cherished. But this morning had taken a slight detour. Ryan had left behind a signed contract in his office, one too important to entrust to email. It was Saturday, the building would be mostly empty, and he figured it wouldn't hurt to take Emily along for a quick stop. She loved visiting Daddy's big, shiny office with its floor-to-ceiling windows and snack bar. They entered the building hand in hand, Emily's little feet tapping excitedly against the marble floors. When they stepped into his office, Ryan headed straight to his desk, distracted and already mentally composing an email. Emily, meanwhile, wandered a bit, gazing curiously at the modern fixtures and blinking electronics. Then came the moment. Emily tugged gently at his sleeve, her voice low and slightly nervous. "Daddy, there's a little blinking light in there," she said, pointing toward the air vent above the bookcase. Ryan looked up. The vent, standard office HVAC. Nothing unusual, just a dark grate. He chuckled softly. "That's probably just an air sensor, sweetie," he reassured her. "They put them in offices to keep the air fresh." Emily didn't push further. She just nodded and went back to exploring the corner with the spinning chair. But Ryan, something about the way she said it lingered. He was used to ignoring minor office oddities, but this felt different. Why would there be a blinking light in a vent? That night, long after Emily was tucked into bed, Ryan sat alone in his study, the room lit only by the soft glow of his laptop. His mind kept drifting back to her words. What if she was right? And what if someone was watching? The next morning, Ryan arrived at the office an hour earlier than usual. The sun had barely risen, and the building was wrapped in silence, interrupted only by the distant footsteps of half-asleep security guards doing their early rounds. The lobby lights were dimmed, casting long shadows across the polished floors. The usual hustle and bustle of office life hadn't yet begun, giving Ryan the perfect opportunity to investigate. As he stepped into his office, he paused for a moment. The space, normally a haven of focus and clarity, now felt different, almost ominous. Without turning on the lights, he shut the door behind him and sat down in his chair in the darkness. The hum of the air vents was the only sound in the room. He looked toward the ceiling where Emily had pointed the day before, and then he saw it, a faint red blink. It was subtle, almost unnoticeable, but unmistakably there. His heart began to pound. Slowly, deliberately, he stood up, left his office, and walked down the hall to the maintenance closet. With a firm grip, he carried a metal ladder back into the room and positioned it directly under the vent. Climbing up carefully, Ryan unscrewed the vent cover. What he saw behind it made his breath catch. There, tucked neatly inside, was a sleek, high-end surveillance camera. It was small, no bigger than a deck of cards, but clearly powerful, with a wide-angle lens and a compact memory port. This wasn't standard office equipment. No one had told him about surveillance in his personal office. There were no notices, no consent forms, no company memos. This was no routine installation. This was something else. Someone had planted it. Trying not to disturb the camera, Ryan pulled out his phone and took several pictures from different angles. Then, with delicate fingers, he removed the tiny memory card attached to the device and slid the vent cover back into place. That night, after putting Emily to bed, Ryan sat alone in his study. His hands trembled slightly as he inserted the card into his laptop. The files loaded slowly, one by one. What he saw made his blood run cold. There were months of surveillance footage, him speaking with clients, reviewing confidential documents, even personal moments where he thought he was alone. But worse, there were edited clips manipulated to appear as though he was sharing sensitive data with outside sources. It was clear someone was trying to destroy his career and his life. Ryan didn't go to human resources. He didn't alert corporate security. That would have been the obvious move, and the mistake they were probably counting on. Whoever planted the camera had access, serious access, the kind that didn't just come from technical skills, but from influence. Someone embedded deep enough in the system to bypass checks, erase logs, and go unnoticed. That meant one thing. This betrayal wasn't coming from the outside. So, Ryan stayed silent and started his own investigation. Over the next 2 days, he played the part of the unbothered executive. He cracked jokes during meetings, complimented team reports, and even sent out thank you emails. But behind the scenes, he hired a private cybersecurity firm known for their discretion and deep-dive forensics. When the firm examined the camera's memory and transmission logs, what they found made Ryan's stomach turn. The device didn't just store video. It had a Wi-Fi transmitter that automatically uploaded footage every night to a remote server. Tracing the IP address was tricky, but not impossible. Within hours, the trail led to a private home network. The name attached to the account? Amanda Lewis, Ryan's executive assistant. He couldn't believe it. Amanda had been with him for over 2 years. She was calm under pressure, brilliant at logistics, and always seemed to know what he needed before he asked. But now it seemed she knew far too much, and she wasn't acting alone. The investigation uncovered 3 co-conspirators, employees from the legal, sales, and IT departments, each strategically positioned to manipulate records, delay alerts, and bury evidence. Together, they've been building a case to frame Ryan for embezzlement and leaking proprietary data. Their motive? Simple, chilling ambition. Ryan was next in line for the CEO role, and they were ready to destroy his future to make sure he never got it. Ryan knew one thing for certain now. He wasn't just being watched. He was being hunted, and it was time to strike back. It was a Wednesday morning, but the air in the office felt unusually tense. Rumors had been swirling all week after Ryan Matthews summoned the top brass and 4 specific employees, Amanda, along with her 3 alleged co-conspirators, for an emergency performance review meeting. No one knew what it was about, but the invite list alone turned heads. The boardroom quickly filled, with executives taking their usual seats and the 4 employees settling in, confused but trying to mask their unease. At the head of the table stood Ryan, calm and collected, a remote in one hand and a file folder in the other. "I usually like to start meetings with a vision," he said, scanning the room with composed authority. "But today, I'm starting with the truth." He clicked the remote. The screen at the end of the boardroom flickered to life. What followed was damning. Crystal clear footage showed Amanda, after hours, discreetly opening the vent in Ryan's office and installing the surveillance camera. The next series of clips showed the others, accessing unauthorized data, altering internal logs, and planting files intended to implicate Ryan in corporate theft. It was a coordinated attack. Every movement was time-stamped, every action undeniable. Gasps rippled through the room. Amanda's face turned ghost white. The others sank into their seats, eyes wide and breath shallow. Just as the last clip ended, the door opened. 2 members of corporate security stepped in without a word. Ryan didn't yell. He didn't gloat. He simply said, "You've not just betrayed me. You've risked the integrity of this company. And that's something I won't allow to stand." The 4 were immediately placed on leave, and within 48 hours, terminated. Legal proceedings began quietly behind the scenes. The board, stunned by the betrayal but deeply impressed by Ryan's measured handling of the crisis, made their decision crystal clear. He wasn't just next in line for CEO. He already was one. That evening, the world felt lighter. Ryan pulled up to the school parking lot just as the final bell rang. Children spilled out of the building, laughing, chasing each other, their backpacks bouncing as they ran. Among them was Emily, his little hero. Her pigtails danced as she spotted his car and sprinted over, face glowing with excitement. She climbed in, kicking her feet as she buckled up, then turned to him with wide, curious eyes. "Daddy, did you find a camera?" Ryan looked at her, his heart swelling with pride and gratitude. "I did," he said softly. "And because of you, everything's okay now." Emily lit up. "So, am I a detective now?" He laughed, a deep, genuine laugh that shook off days of stress. "You're better than a detective," he said, squeezing her hand gently. "You're my guardian angel." They drove home, music playing softly in the background, Emily chattering about art class and snack time, unaware of just how close her father had come to ruin and how her simple observation had saved it all. That night, after Emily had gone to bed and the house was quiet, Ryan stepped out onto the balcony. The city lights sparkled below, but his mind wasn't on deadlines or deals. It was on his daughter, on her quiet voice, on the moment she tugged his sleeve and changed the course of his life. He'd spent his career analyzing risks, managing billion-dollar assets, and protecting company secrets. But it wasn't strategy or software that saved him. It was a child's honesty. A 6-year-old girl who trusted what she saw and had the courage to say it out loud. In that quiet moment, Ryan realized something profound. Sometimes, the smallest voice whispers the biggest truth, and only those wise enough to listen are saved by it. In the end, it wasn't a boardroom strategy, a legal team, or advanced tech that saved Ryan. It was a little girl, a blinking light, and the courage to speak up. If this story moved you, hit that like button and subscribe for more powerful, real-life inspired stories. And remember, sometimes the smallest voice tells the biggest truth. Don't ignore it.